Now, once again, we've made some pretty serious changes, and final changes, in fact, to our artwork. So let's just go up to the File menu and make sure we save everything that we've done, because what we're going to do now is use Illustrator's third type option, which is the ability to create type around a circle, and we're going to do that on the HD artboard of our RGB document. So make sure you switch across to that if you still have it open, or if not, just open it from wherever you saved it on your hard drive. And we're going to focus in on the HD panel over here, and in fact, I'm going to select it. Remember that we've got everything perfectly positioned, so the dead center is in the middle of our artboard and everything else. What we want to do is create a circle in here that we can run type around that would form kind of a background element that sits in our design here. So with that selected, what I'm going to do is come over to the tools, make sure we go to the rectangle and down to the ellipse tool. And as you know, if we want to draw a circle and draw it from the center, we'll position our cursor here, hold down Option and Shift or Alt-Shift on the PC, click and drag out, and we'll bring this to somewhere in the region of maybe 750 pixels, just so it sits right within those crosshairs that we have coming in from the top, okay? Now, because I had the background selected before I drew this shape, you can actually see if we go back to the main selection tool and deselect, it's been filled with a gradient, but because it's in a smaller shape, the gradient is shorter, and this is kind of cool. It looks almost like a lens that we're focusing on in the background. So if you need that effect in future, that might be one easy way you can do it. However, this we can select and just hit the / key to remove the fill completely, and we're ready to apply type to it. Now, like I said before, the type tools are all accessible, or the 3 type tools essentially are all accessible from the very first one. So let's go up to the main type tool. As you know, the squared edge means new line of type. If we position just inside an object or even around it, we can see we have area type. However, if we put our cursor at the top here and hold down the Option key or the Alt key, you can see it changes this little squiggly line, okay? It's barely visible there, but I can show you it just by moving off. If we position now there and click, what we've done is apply type that now runs around the outside, okay? So once again, I'm just going to put in a random number of characters and make sure we select all, come over to the color panel and fill that text with white so we can see it. And again, I'll increase the size here. Let's maybe go up to about 36 points so we can actually see it, all right? Now, if I go back to the main selection tool, we can see the type nicely flows around the outside. And you'll notice there are these 2 single blue lines here. In fact, if I just zoom in there, you can see it very easily. Basically, because we clicked at the dead top of this, it's created what we call the start and the finish point of the type. Essentially, the type is running around the entire circle, so the full circumference, if you like, of the circle. If you sort of unraveled it and laid it in one line, you can imagine the start and finish point. Well, that's what we're seeing here. Illustrator knows that the text, if it continued to flow all the way around the circle, would end here and it starts here, okay? The reason I show you this, if we just go back to Fit in Window, is we want the type to center across the top here so that as we add type, it continues to grow and expand on both sides and encompass the whole shape, all right? Well, if we come up to the control panel here, we can see in the paragraph option we have center for the type, and this is also available in the type palettes that we looked at a second ago. If we click center, the type goes down at the bottom. That might be slightly confusing. Remember, the entire circumference is basically the full length of the text frame, so if you center the type, it's going to center it within that, which happens to be at the bottom of the circle. It's a strange concept, but once you get your head around it, I think you'll understand it. Now, what we can do to get around this is quite simply rotate the circle 180 degrees. That'll fix it for us. So come over to your rotate tool, double click to bring up our dialog box, key in 180 degrees, and click OK. It rotates from the center. Our start and finish points are now down at the bottom, but what this means now is if we go back to our main selection tool, there is one bar that still sits right here. If you hover over it, you'll see a cursor changes to a sort of an upside down T. If we click and drag on that, you see you're able to change the angle at which the type lines up here, and this is really very, very cool. So if you're trying to get type that's centered on a circle, it's worth just checking the options here, rotating it back to 180 degrees, and then everything sort of flows on from there.